My coverage of Computex 2024 is brought to you by Fractal, Antec, Thermaltake, and ASUS. What's up, guys? Welcome to Computex 2024, like officially the actual start date. We're starting off here at ASUS because they're our sponsor. A big thank you to them. And we've got JJ, of course, because he knows more about ASUS products than I think anybody. And we got him at the beginning of the show before his voice goes out. Because
it's going to happen. It's not if it's going to happen, it's just when it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. All right, quick highlights. What are the things you're most excited about?
I think, actually, oddly enough, really cool new design that we have on our power supplies. Okay. Brand new eCam technology, which is actually a new 3D printing process for next generation coolers. Right. Some cool stuff on BTF. And then probably our peripherals. I think those are probably the super highlights, but there's also some cool display stuff. I mean, there's really a lot of awesome across the board, but those are probably my tops.
All right, where are we gonna begin?
Yeah, I think actually a quick one on the power supply, kind of the power supply solutions. So these, we already have a big refresh where we shifted over to, of course, ATX 3.0, 12 volt high power, 12x6, right, as far as whatever you want to call. But the big update that we've made is now for our next generation high performance ROG series is going to be the inclusion of GaN. Of course, with GaN, that allows us to just have a higher level of efficiency. We're still going to be keeping those big ROG heatsink designs to be able to offer outstanding, really best-in-class noise performance, fully modular solutions. But the really cool part, this is the cool part, because they're gonna be like, JJ, this is a power supply, everybody has a power supply, they're all high efficiency, they're all cool, they all work well, what's the point? Well, this is gonna be the really cool point. This is really the key hallmark benefit of what ASUS is gonna be doing that's going to be different. So this is actually our voltage stabilizer design. The really cool part about this, on both the actual Strix models, as well as the new upcoming Thor model, will be that in a traditional PSU design, the actual, let's say, load balancing that's occurring was still coming from the actual primary motherboard connection, from that primary 12 volt power connection. But in this new design, we actually have an auxiliary pin. So you can see actually this connector will connect to the power supply along with the 12x6. And that will actually allow us to directly respond to the GPU. So instead of actually having a less efficient and a less actually performant measurement of the transient response in terms of the way the GPU is working, we can have a much faster. And this actually, in the real world, will translate to a little bit of a performance uplift. When we've measured this internally in some game testing, some 3D Mark performance analysis, we found that actually there's a bit more of a variable frame rate that you have when you're going through, let's say, the traditional design as opposed to a voltage stabilized design. Now, as far as what that benefit's gonna be, it's not gonna be massive, but it will be present probably in the few percent range, probably somewhere about maybe 2 to 3+%.
Is this gonna aid with stuff like overclocking?
In theory, yes. I mean, ultimately, the way you wanna think about it is that right now the GPU is pretty much the peak in terms of where most power is being drawn from the system. So the more you're gonna push that part, the more variability that it has to be able to kick up, especially with dynamic technologies like you have with GPU boost, where you're going from one clock state and then ramping up to a much higher clock state. And if you're gonna take that further through overclocking, guess what? You're even just pushing that even further, right? You're consuming more power. So that's gonna be complementary to potentially maybe improving edge cases where you might not maybe had stability because the power supply wasn't able to keep up quickly enough to that new essentially benchmark of what you're trying to get to a performance level. So very excited about this new introduction for the Thor series. We'll probably be starting this model off where we're phasing out the more entry-level wattage, where we used to have like an 850, we'll probably only do like 1,000, going up to 1,600 watts, and then here, probably going from 750 up to about a 1,200 watt marker. The last really cool thing I want to touch on here is a lot of guys that absolutely love the Thor model have always wanted to see it be a little bit even more flexible. So now for this generation, we have a pogo-based design. So you can go ahead and remove it. And if you want to be able to switch the actual orientation, you can pop it back onto the other side. You can see that there's actually a nice protective plate. You can pop it on there and then bam, you'll be good to go. It'll readjust and you'll be all set. So you can see right there, it takes a little bit to reinitialize, but then you can set it up accordingly based on kind of the chassis layout, the dimensions, the orientation, whatever it might be.
You're not locked into one position if you want to see the LED readout.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of one of the key hallmarks of really the Thor series. So it's a very cool addition. So I think I'm pretty excited about this one.
What about this hammer that's next to you?
So this is gonna be, I'm a big comic fan. If you're familiar with comics, you're familiar with Norse mythology, this is of course Thor's hammer. The really cool thing is this essentially is gonna be a UPS. We've had a lot of people that have essentially been interested in saying, look, I spent $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on my system. I want to be able to better safeguard it, make sure that I'm protecting it from surge, spike, sag. And a lot of the more traditional units, they're maybe a little bit more antiquated in terms of their design. Maybe they haven't been updated with newer performance. And definitely the ID design doesn't maybe complement the look and feel of their system.
If you want the ROG aesthetic.
Yeah, this definitely looks cool, but it's definitely packed to the gills with high performance technology. So this is going to give you things like 100-watt USB-C power delivery. It's going to actually give you up to, I believe we're projecting over an hour worth of runtime in a 4080 enabled class of system. If your power to go offline, of course you have full AC switching. We have actually a peak boost mode, so essentially for high inrush current, essentially it won't shut off the unit. You could be powering essentially higher powered type devices. So if you want to plug in some fans or some other types of accessory, maybe a small little fridge or things like that, you could do that as well. And the hat trick is this really cool design. We have Qi wireless charging for something like your phone, and that's 2.0, so faster charging than your traditional 7.5 watts. But this is a flashlight. So in the situation when, of course, your power goes out, if you need it, guess what? You've got a quick flashlight. You don't have to take out your phone, stumble, click the thing, and get it working.
And what does it mean that you were able to actually lift that up?
For me, it means nothing. It just means that it was well designed and we added some functionality.
JJ is worthy, I think.
But I think pretty cool. So a lot more details to come, but I'd love to know, are you guys excited about this UPS, essentially the additional offering, and would you like to even see kind of more of these type of offerings, you know? So this is something we're really excited about, kind of extending what we're doing in terms of our power solutions.
UPS is often overlooked PC accessory, so that's a really nice one.
Yeah, pretty sweet. All right, let's go ahead and quickly take a look here just on a quick highlight side. So on this side, of course, you guys have known that BTF has been kind of a new initiative we've been pushing forth. We highlighted it at CES, right? We had a little bit of a discussion, right? I know you had your previous sentiments about it.
I'm very into practicality with things, and I feel like JJ took my feedback and was like, let's make BTF like in a new form factor that expresses the practicality a little bit more, because these are beautiful.
Yep.
And I will agree with you that having cables sticking off of these things at weird places would not be very aesthetically pleasing. These are obviously designed to have a look and feel that's very complete and very finished. And as for a BTF implementation, I think it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Also, there's an adapter now.
Yeah, there is an adapter, and there'll be more to come on that. And essentially here, we just want to show you guys a little bit of what we're trying to do in terms of evolving the look and feel of what a system might look like, right? We are a chassis manufacturer, we're a motherboard manufacturer, we're a graphics card manufacturer. So we're in a really unique position to, I think, be able to kind of push the envelope in terms of what the expectation of what a system can look like. And that's what you're seeing right here. Everything from this kind of really cool, fully integrated kind of mini ITX chassis. This is a system that, in theory, essentially you could pick your own board, still be able to build it out, but you would have an entirely different aesthetic. You would dock in the actual graphics card. You could easily eject it and remove it. It could still support non-BTF based graphics cards, so it's not like you're fully locked in, but again, you would have this really nice, clean ID design if you were to leverage our BTF based solution. So this is just one example. You'll see a couple others here in the B-roll, but we'd love to see your guys' feedback. This is something that we are actively working on. What are your thoughts? What would you like to see? Where would you like it to go evolve towards? And speaking of that, we're going to look at some next generation cooling designs to also see where we might be going with BTF evolving in terms of that AIO solution.
Okay, so just to clarify for some of these models, because we got a preview of these at the press event yesterday, these are built around mini ITX motherboards.
Correct, yes.
And just a few different form factors here that you guys are playing with in terms of presentation.
Different setups, different orientations. This unit actually also is using actually a kind of a deflection mechanism right here, similar to what we did in our PA602 chassis. So this actually could be removed. You could entirely lay it flat. You could also go with a vertical orientation. So there's different levels of flexibility in terms of how you can orient and visually look at the system. So it'll be up to you. But a lot of this, like I said, is all in work progress, right? We want to see what your guys' thoughts is. Are you excited about it? Do you feel that you want something this open? Maybe do you want something like a shroud that you would be able to kind of cap on top, right? What is your thoughts? So definitely going to be looking at the commentary and seeing what your guys' interest is.
All right, you heard JJ. Leave comments in the comment section below.
Let's go ahead and jump over to the other side. The first thing that we're showing you off, guys, here is going to be some pretty cool stuff. So we just went from BTF in terms of, okay, looking at some of the next generation chassis designs, what we're going to be doing to kind of evolve the potential kind of total presentation. And right now, I think people think that the systems look absolutely super clean, really minimal, right? But there's those people that's like, well, I still see tubes from my AIO, right? Well, how do we essentially navigate this? Check this out. This is pretty cool. Go ahead, and Paul, let me know what your thoughts are.
Good footage of this already.
Good footage of this.
It's a flexible OLED panel,
Yep.
and it's motorized, so it can wrap around or you can make it go flat for better visibility depending on how your case is oriented. And this is an extension of the ASUS war on cables. Now there's an ASUS war on tubing.
Trying to kind of evolve this. I mean, you're still ultimately got cables that you got to route through, but of course, you can ultimately hide those. You can minimize the overall look. We're still leveraging the really cool daisy chain magnetic fans that we had on things like the Ryzen 3, right? We've got all that XM customization options we have within, of course, Armory Crate, that really nice, big, beautiful 6.7-inch OLED display. So some definitely cool stuff that we have going on there. But overall, I think, again, this is an exciting addition that we're going to have when we talk about what we could be going towards when we talk about the kind of evolving look and feel when it comes to BTF-based systems. So pretty sweet. And again, love to see what your guys' thoughts or feedback on whether or not, is this something that excites you, right? How do you feel about cables? Do you like the contrast, the color, the texture? Or you really kind of want to continue to reduce and move that away from not being something that's visibly there within the look and feel of your system, right? So overall, I think pretty cool and excited about continuing to kind of evolve where we're going with BTF. All right.
You know, there's an ongoing discussion about like aesthetics versus functionality and the balance there.
Yep.
And this is definitely an aesthetic upgrade. But if you're going to make an aesthetic upgrade, it's a pretty nice looking one. That's appealing.
Yeah. I think going though to performance and aesthetics, a really, really cool thing that we're seeing here is this is a really awesome collaboration kind of coming together between ASUS, Fabric 8, Asetek, where we're showing really what the next generation of cooling technology is going to be. So there's a really exciting term in the industry called additive manufacturing. It's essentially kind of coined for 3D printing. And we're really looking to evolve what has been done previously. So, you know, we've been a long-time partner with Asetek where we've had a continued improvement in terms of thermal resistant performance, going from, let's say, Gen 5 to of course, Gen 6, Gen 7, and Gen 8. But what you're seeing right here is the overall cold plate design. And the really cool part here is that there's essentially a water feedstock in combination with a pixel array that allows you to essentially kind of be able to have customized, essentially, topology and layout for your cold plate that specifically optimizes, let's say, heat trajectory and targeting. Where in a traditional skiving technique, right, you pretty much are kind of going with these horizontal fins, right? And you're trying to optimize, you know, essentially turbulence and kind of hot spotting characteristics, but it can be quite challenging. Here, essentially, we can take tons of machine model data where we can look at kind of the IHS, we can look essentially where we know the hot spots are across the die and then optimize the cold plate specifically for that. The really cool parts of this is even when we talk about scale of production, sustainability elements, it's almost like win, 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 win. You can use raw liquid copper without having to processing. When this comes actually out of the print bed, you don't actually have to go through actually heating treatments or polishing treatments, so you can actually directly go into production much more quickly. The print beds actually allow for multiple cold plates to be all produced simultaneously at one time. I mean, it's just, this is literally next generation kind of direction of what you're going to be seeing to kind of level up cooling performance.
So are we going to see specialized cold plates for like AMD and Intel?
Yeah, I mean, the really great thing is you can get ultra specialized, right? We could really be looking at every single kind of GPU, CPU die, their layout, and optimize it specific to that.
2 die versus single die AMD processor?
You're going to bring in almost an unprecedented level of granularity and control that hasn't been possible before, because you can take all this amazing, essentially, data, right? That right now we can analyze all this, but it's been limited essentially by the fabrication process, right? We're essentially trying to kind of take this very, very limited way to approach how you actually are approaching, let's say, cold plate topology and layout. But now essentially you've leveled up. You're just increasing the resolution, the variability, the flexibility, all of those things are just getting leveled up. So this is really, really exciting. It's not final in terms of what our timeline is, but
win.
Yeah, we're showing it off here, and we love, you know, everybody I know is always excited about just getting lower temps, maximizing performance, and I think even in the real world, this is where the exciting part is that by maximizing thermal performance, I think even in the real world, when we look at like clock boosting behavior, you'll probably see that translate into the real world, which is really cool. So a very, very exciting update in terms of what we're going to be doing there. So yeah.
That's exciting for AIO fans.
Very exciting.
I was also a pun, AIO fans.
For sure.
Air cooling versus water cooling. All right, let's move.
So let's go ahead and jump on over here. All right, guys, for those of you who have been longtime ASUS fans, you kind of know the Extreme moniker. It's kind of one of the really oldest monikers that we have in the ROG lineup, right? And we're really happy now to extend that to our peripheral lineup, specifically with 2 big updates. One is going to be the Azoth Extreme. The Azoth was already kind of our flagship custom gaming keyboard. It kind of really brought this kind of harmony between a lot of the niche kind of custom market, but then brought a lot of the value prop that you had from a true gaming keyboard. And sometimes I think people are wondering, what does that really mean? Because any course keyboard can be used for gaming, but what we're generally kind of focused on when we talk about a gaming grade keyboard, I think is going to be 3 things. One is going to be performance. So that's going to be things like not only the battery life, the RF performance in terms of click latency and polling rate, but even also elements of customization. A lot of custom keyboards, they might not even have profile support, so that you can kind of toggle between one desktop application or a different game. So maybe you're going to have a different loadout for something like an RTS game versus an FPS game, right? And all those things are inherently kind of baked into an inherent gaming keyboard. But there's the awesome feel, look, and kind of quality experience that you can have with a custom keyboard, and that's what we've kind of merged together. So what did we do that's new? I think the really big things is one, we've gone ahead and added in this really, really cool full aluminum design. So in the prior generation, we had an aluminum top cover, but the bottom was plastic. Now, part of the reason why we did that is because you were going to be limited in terms of the RF signaling performance. So the way that we essentially resolve that issue is that not the entire full body is going to be metal. Right here, this aluminum, you see that this is actually cut out because that's where we're optimally placing the antennas. That's super important because this model is an 8K compatible keyboard, both in wired and wireless, with ultra low click latency. And in fact, our click latency performance is sub 0.9 milliseconds. It's industry leading, so absolutely outstanding.
That's very fast.
Pro tip, if you do get anything at the 4K or greater polling rate, you want at least a 240 hertz monitor. If you're not rocking a 240 hertz monitor, you're literally not actually taking advantage of the increased polling rate performance. So just keep that in mind. One other really cool addition is we've added in something called a leaf spring design. This is for people that appreciate more variability and essentially kind of the bounciness or the sponginess that you can have when you're doing touch typing. So the cool part is traditionally, these are the contact points, these little leaf springs. Now, when you normally go through this type of setup, people could customize this, but they would have to do it kind of like by manually screwing it down. And that can have uneven, essentially, torquing performance, right? Because not everybody has a torque screwdriver. Let me know in the chat, well, in the comments, do you have a torque screwdriver?
I do.
Yes. Well, you're a pro, right? So I would expect you to have one. But otherwise, a lot of people don't. So it's not uniformity. So I'm going to go ahead, as you hold this, I'm just going to, I can't flip it on that one, so I'd have to use it on another model. So if you want to flip that over.
Nice heft.
We can flip over and we can see not only that beautiful, of course, aluminum base plate, but if we press this, we can pop this out and then we can actually toggle this switch. And so when we toggle this switch, we essentially go up and down, we're changing the Z height of this little guy right here, which you can see hard or soft. And so what that will allow you to experience is essentially either a more kind of stiff, a little bit more rigid, which is really great for like quick response actuation, or if you want softer, which tend to be sometimes more comfortable for people that are doing more touch typing, that want a little bit of bounce. But the cool thing is, it's up to you. Otherwise, in the past, you would kind of almost have to buy a keyboard for one of the other, but now the Azoth is giving you both. So it's just up to you.
At the press event, they were talking about how the softer typing is maybe good for long term if you work from home.
Yeah, if you're like typing out like much longer documents, maybe doing a lot of Reddit commentary, you know, YouTube comments, whatever it might be. We also added in a full now color touch screen. So this is actually a touch screen, so it's not just the actual physical control knob that you have there. And the little hat trick is that you also get these cool little magnetic feet. So you can go ahead and pop those in there if you're somebody that wants to adjust that. And it will also come with this very premium silicone wrist rest. So it's not only silicone, but actually the full base is weighted with also metal as well. So this is going to be coming out in Q3. Its price point will be $500. So it is going to be about twice the price point of the current Azoth. Okay. But again, there is literally nothing in the market that offers this combination of premium kind of custom keyboard elements along with the highest level of keyboard gaming performance when we talk about click latency, polling rate performance, battery life, all those other elements, the integrated touchscreen. So we've got something quite special here with the Azoth Extreme.
And the Extreme suffix is not something that is applied lightly to ROG products.
Unquestionably, yeah. I mean, if everybody knows, yes. So that is going to be that. So continuing with the Extreme moniker, we went Extreme on our mouse. Now, we already had two ultra performant options in the market with the Curious 2 and the original Harpe. They were both 54 grams with a brand new biopolymer, bio-nylon based actually shell. So they were already super light, ultra high build quality, great performance sensor. But here we just kind of wanted to take it to the next degree. So here we actually have taken true carbon fiber, molded that in and injected it. That is not a wrap. It's true, actually 100% carbon fiber in there. The actual carbon fiber detailing is so impressive that I think you guys might have picked up some cool B-roll to actually show the actual carbon fiber material actually being uniquely actually rotary cut out and then being applied. And we actually then match the weave texture to be consistent. So literally every single Harpe Extreme will actually be unique. Because the textile weaves are going to be different. But if even you notice, you kind of take a look at the mouse, you'll notice that we match the weaving patterns so they actually don't feel different. So that in itself is kind of shows you the attention to detail that we're putting there.
It's fairly smooth. There's a little bit of texture to the carbon fiber.
And there is a coating that still actually is applied on top of the carbon fiber to add a little bit of enhanced kind of grip and tactility to it. So if you were actually somebody that felt that our prior kind of coating was maybe not as grippy as you would have liked it, I would say that we've actually taken that feedback and we've even further enhanced upon that. So this is going to be even lighter than 54, 47 grams. Our new aim point sensor, which is 42,000 DPI, 5 onboard memory profiles, 100 million optical, the primary switches that we have on here. Even the RGB lighting wheel, which is ultra rare within this ultra light segment of the market. It will actually give you an indicator for battery life, so it does actually serve a function as well. The really other cool thing that you'll like is flip that guy around, is you will see this is actually shipping with Corning Gorilla Glass skates. So the 3 big benefits is going to be ultra smooth tracking performance on all types of textile weave surfaces.
This is my first, I'm going to give a first impression.
Go for it, go ahead.
Ooh, it's smooth.
Super smooth. And the wear rate that you have compared to traditional PTF feet is outstanding. So normal PTF feet will wear quicker over time. So these will be much more resilient. But we make actually something like the ROG Moonstone, which is a glass gaming surface. This is a pro tip to never use glass on glass. So you don't want to use these glass skates if you're using like a ceramic or a glass pad.
But it comes with alternative skates.
Correct. Hopefully, yep. So this one you'll see here, this is going to be with our standard Omni feet, 100% PTFE based feet, and you'll actually get 2 sets of these PTFE skates. One's shaped in the more kind of Omni broad pattern, which depending on kind of like your movement pattern and your kind of weave on your surface, you might prefer this in the PTFE variant, or you might prefer this. This one is the one that we generally recommend for the vast majority of users, but you'll actually get all 3. You'll get the glass, and you'll get 2 sets of PTFE included.
I appreciate the tri mode too there. You can flip it over to Bluetooth if you want to use it, put the laptop on the goes.
And this guy will also be just like the Azoth Extreme. Guess what? 8K. So again, outstanding, best performance you can get on the market. So super excited about this one. This will set our new flagship benchmark. So our prior mice were coming generally in about, the flagship models about 150, 160. This is currently projected for right now a 249 MSRP.
49.
Okay. So
but
again,
it's carbon fiber.
Carbon fiber.
That's not cheap.
Definitely.
And I'm mostly worried that it's going to float away. Like, this is my first time actually holding ones after the press event yesterday, and if you guys like lightweight mice and you don't like the ones with the holes cut in them everywhere, that's going to get grime and stuff caught in them and stuff like that.
And I would say that even without lighted, is the structural integrity feels outstanding. That's something we really pride ourselves on, is the overall fit finish, the weight distribution, but also the actual construction. Sometimes people kind of get what's called creaking, or kind of they just feel like there's QC fitment issues, but these feel really, really good. We work really, really hard at making sure that, yes, it is a premium, expensive product, but it feels really good in hand. Rounding out one of our biggest updates here to the actual peripheral lineup, the Delta has been one of my absolute favorite headsets that we've had in our lineup. It's generally positioned at the flagship level that we have. The really cool thing about this one is we've kind of just taken everything that a lot of people loved about it and just kind of leveled it up even further. So
I can't hear you anymore.
That's good. Good isolation. It does actually come with 2 sets of cups. So one cup is going to be more for isolation. One's going to be for a higher level of breathability. We have this nice metal yoke-based design, nice lightweight, comfortable base design as well. Angled cups also, so you don't necessarily feel pressure coming in and on your lobes, which is also going to be a plus point. Fully detachable 10mm ultra wideband based microphone, so it does a much better job of picking up, I think, the range of your voice. So if you got a little bit more boom, you got a little bit more bass. Also, you have a little bit better intelligibility. It is going to be tri-mode, which is sweet. So you're going to have your multiple points of connection, including 3.5. So if you even have an outboard DAC and amp, you can still connect that and get the benefit from the outboard DAC and amp.
I appreciate that.
When you use the 2.4 connection, of course, that's going to be ultra low latency, and you're going to be leveraging the internal DAC that the unit has. Inside tip, if you're wondering, one of the benefits of an integrated DAC and amp, though, is going to be the consistency of the audio experience across any device that you connect to. Because if you connect it to a Switch, a phone, a laptop, a PC, because that DAC stays consistent, the amplification design is also consistent. You pretty much have the same sound signature from device to device. As opposed with an analog design, it's always going to vary depending on essentially the analog audio circuitry of whatever you're connecting to, right? So if you plug that into like a phone, a desktop, a laptop, they would all be variable, right? So that flexibility is really, really cool. And you also have dual mode operations. So if you want to be able to have something, let's say like your phone, connected simultaneously with your PC, you want to be able to actually intake that call, you can all do that dynamically in real time. So overall, a really, really cool, exciting update that we have here. Great battery life as well. How's it feel? I mean, you know, it's a quick test.
First impression, my first time putting it on. These are super comfortable, not too heavy. It's got some good cushioning there. The cups, the game just got really loud. And one other thing that was mentioned at the press event yesterday, small detail for people who do streaming and stuff like that, but the RGB, I guess, wasn't visible from the front before.
Yeah, so essentially we readjusted it and kind of angled it a little bit more forward so you could see that just a little bit more. So if you're somebody that likes that, you can take advantage of it. It's a little bit more visible. And of course, if you don't want, you can just go into dark mode and turn it off, right?
I'm noticing two...
yeah, so the 2 volume knobs, because since you can simultaneously have both actively connected, you may want to make adjustments adjustments to that easily. You don't want to have to dive in and kind of like hold the button down. It's easier to be like, okay, maybe I want to lower the Bluetooth volume, right? Or that chat volume. I can make those adjustments just in real time by making those quick tuning.
Lots of little details there for convenient use and the dual mode.
Last couple of little quick updates here to kind of round things out. So I think we're going to maybe look at, I believe, maybe ProArt monitor, 5K, 6K. Sounds pretty cool. And we're just going to quickly touch, I think, on our latest addition to the router side. And we'll round out, like I said, on the monitors. So let's just quickly look at kind of next generation Wi-Fi 7. So as many of you guys probably know, we are, of course, a premier networking manufacturer. We're really excited, of course, about Wi-Fi 7. We already currently have multiple Wi-Fi 7 routing products. This one I'm really excited about, though, because it comes in underneath our current flagship, which is the BE98 Pro. The BE98 Pro is going to be a quad-band unit. This is going to be a tri-band unit. But I think not only at its price point and its performance, it's going to be an outstanding choice if you're kind of upgrading from something maybe from 3-4 years ago. It's going to give you essentially all the latest technology and an outstanding level of performance. Now, some of the really cool things for people that have been wondering about where the state of Wi-Fi 7 is, this will really kind of be the first market unit that's coming to the market that fully unlocks all of the promised Wi-Fi features. So two of those key ones are going to be ones called AFC, which is going to be only right now in North America. So if you're watching this somewhere else, we love you. But our North American users are going to be the ones that take most advantage of it. In short, the big benefit of AFC is that there's essentially scanning that happens in your local environment, looking at essentially the RF signals that are in your space. If essentially the FCC deems that that space can be utilized for additional Wi-Fi, it can actually extend the throughput power of the router. The actual router will actually provide a higher level of output power, which will actually give you increased throughput and greater range and better performance. So this is a very exciting benefit that has only been recently unlocked by the FCC, and it requires not only hardware and firmware to be able to enable it, but this will be the first shipping unit that has that AFC benefit. We will be retroactively rolling AFC to other Wi-Fi 7 routers that we have already launched, but this one will kind of get it right off the bat. Another really cool technology that you'll see right kind of that we're showing off right here is what's called MLO. It's multi-link operation. In short, it pretty much just means you can combine two bands together to be able to maximize throughput and lower latency. So if you have a 5 gigahertz band and a 6 gigahertz band, when it makes that connection to that device, it can actually use both of those channels simultaneously to improve the overall stability and the experience that the user has.
So for anyone who isn't familiar with Wi-Fi 7, what are we talking about in terms of peak transfer rate?
Yeah, so it's really exciting. In short, Wi-Fi 6 was generally a peak up to about 900 megabits. Wi-Fi 6E was generally somewhere about up to 1.4 to 1.5 gigabits. And then now for Wi-Fi 7, you're generally going to be looking at ranges, but conservatively, between about 2.5 to an excess of 5+ gigabits. And definitely even higher than that is possible when you start doing what are called MLO connections, which you're kind of, like I said, aggregating bands, or you're using one node to talk to another node. You could literally be getting 6, 7, 8+ gigabits of throughput. So it's insane.
It's creeping dangerously close to the 10 gigabit.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And speaking of 10 gigabit, that's where I want to round things out. This unit does also feature 10 gigabit WAN support and LAN support, and features a monster quad-core SoC with 2 gigs of memory. That allows you to have not only super fast Wi-Fi performance, great on-router VPN performance, but also allows those physical network ports to operate at peak levels of performance.
And just a 10 gigabit switch on its own can be very expensive, so having that integrated too
making it in
adds a lot of value.
Yeah, so this guy will be coming in Q3. We don't have a finalized price point, and give you guys a little bit of a sleeper tip. We will be actually coming out with a white variant at a later date. So if you're interested in finally seeing a Rapture model in white, we're going to have you covered. Let's take a look at some monitors.
Sounds good.
So I know we said monitors, guys, and we're going to do that, but actually I was excited to just give you guys a little bit of soft update. Prime series actually saw a lot of recent additions, and there's some cool stuff that you haven't seen here, but I know Paul saw in terms of some upcoming Prime chassis that I think are going to be pretty cool when we come out with them later. But Prime now includes motherboards. Actually, we just launched at Computex, Prime graphics cards, power supplies, chassis, and now AIOs. So if you guys know in terms of kind of the product stack, these will be definitely a little bit more in that kind of entry to mid-range price point, but we still think some great offerings right here. There will actually be models that actually include daisy chain magnetic, along with screen and non-screen based offerings. So if you're looking again for something at a lower price point coming from ASUS, we'll have the Prime Series AIOs. But speaking of monitors, I think we've got 3 amazing displays here. One of them we previously announced at NAB. The 2 ones that I really kind of want to focus on is we're really excited to be able to offer a 5K and 6K based offering. So here you're seeing a really kind of representation of what we're doing in terms of ProArt displays. If you're not familiar with what we do with ProArt, it's all about color uniformity, factory color calibration, rich OSD controls, high level of I/O, so having multiple USB ports or Thunderbolt connectivity. things like MST, which is going to be like daisy chain support for displays, where if you want to put like two side by side, along with using generally kind of best-in-class panel technologies. So you've got three great examples right here. The UCDM right here is going to be a 4K QD OLED 240 Hertz ProArt-based monitor. Moving over here to the PA27JCV, this is going to be a 5K based display. Really impressive, of course, color gamut performance. You can see 99% DCI-P3. All ProArt displays are factory calibrated. But there's a really cool, interesting technology that we have baked in specifically for the 5K and 6K. It's called Lux Pixel. So traditionally, when you talk about the polarizer, there's an AG-based coating. The AG coating, though, with a high PPI-based display, the way the kind of scattering works, it can create a little bit of a sparkle effect sometimes when you're looking at the actual text. You still have outstanding PPI, it's very sharp, but it can add this kind of little bit of this sparkle characteristic. And color professionals have noted this. So we actually have a secondary specialized film that we add on top of the AR, and that essentially helps to mitigate that and then overall improve, I think, sharpness and clarity for the image. So just kind of letting you fully maximize the benefit of essentially that 5K or that 6K display. So you'll see essentially two variants. Like again, one will have the 27-inch 5K, and then we'll have the 32-inch 6K. And then the big brother, the flagship, will be this guy right here, which will be the 8K base variant. So this is the PA32KCX. This guy is absolutely a monster. It's an 8K based display, over 4,000 zones, has a high number of what are called IC controllers. The IC controllers are really important to mitigating things like halo and blooming. So the more controllers you have, essentially the more responsive those zones can perform in terms of your panel.
Pixel density on these is insane.
Yeah, it is absolutely a monster. And this guy, you know, if people are kind of wondering, isn't just OLED about everything? Keep in mind that the performance in terms of what we can have for HDR is just significantly higher on an LCD. This unit can peak out at over 1,600 nits of brightness. It's just in a whole nother stratosphere that OLEDs cannot offer. So when you talk about sustained SDR and HDR-based luminance performance, LCDs still reign king, especially when you're talking about mini LED technology. So very excited to be able to introduce these guys. And that, I think, wraps up not everything, but a lot of the really cool stuff that we got at Computex.
Can we show this really quick? Really, I'm gonna grab it. I'm gonna pick it up.
It's got ProArt theme, right?
ProArt.
Yep, sorry. So this is a little bit of a sleeper kind of item right here. We actually showed this off privately yesterday, but it's pretty exciting, kind of continuing to kind of evolve what we've been doing with ProArt. So many of you might be familiar that we launched ProArt series graphics cards. They're actually claim to fame have been an ultra compact design. They were 2.5 slots. They were class leading. They were really the only like 4070 Ti, 48 options you could get within a small form factor based footprint. And as you guys might have seen, NVIDIA, of course, has now enabled an SF-based guideline, which the ProArt cards already meet, our dual cards meet, and our new Prime card series also meet. But here, we're integrating something special. You've never seen a ProArt BTF-based solution, and then an ultra-compact-based chassis design. So this is, again, showing you kind of where we could potentially be offering solutions for, let's say, creative professionals. They want a compact, performant, and very capable but minimally designed, essentially, PC for editing, for content production, for acceleration-based purposes, productivity-based purposes. So what do you guys think? Do you think you like the look? Do you like the feel? Is this something that you potentially would want to be able to put together?
When this was revealed at the press event yesterday, there were lots of people in the room who were like, it's just so tiny. And this is a 4080, I believe.
4080
right?
Super, correct.
Yeah.
That's currently what we offer as far as our flagship within this generation for the ProArt series graphics cards. So a lot of performance within a very compact design.
And just like the concept cases we saw on the ROG side, is this one also in that family?
Still in that concept design stage. So nothing 100% finalized, but definitely something we're looking at, and we're looking for feedback. Do you want to see an option like this coming from us? And again, you can see pretty much everything packs in there. A lot of cool flexibility and functionality. And I can give you guys, you know, I'm gonna give it only for Paul. I'm only gonna say it only on Paul. I'm not gonna tell anybody else that comes to Computex, but I can tell you, I'm already confirming that next generation, we will maintain the ProArt series for the next generation GPUs, and we might be doing some cool stuff. That's all I can tell you.
I didn't even know they were gonna be next generation GPUs. Okay, final note. Before we go, to follow up on what we discussed at CES back in January, I like longevity for hardware. And thanks to this, these new implementations, since they're using mini ITX motherboards, the edge connector on these BTF cards actually extends beyond that and is plugged into an adapter.
An adapter, correct, yeah. And I think you got one of the adapters, so you might be able to show that off, maybe in some like little B-roll or something.
One of my beefs with BTF was longevity and being able to like 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, can those parts be maintained, like if the motherboard fails, something like that? That allows BTF graphics cards with that edge connector to potentially be
to live on essentially in a non-BTF based motherboard.
So I appreciate that.
So definitely, I mean, that's not the most ideal scenario, right? Of course, you would still prefer generally a native case card, but of course, you don't get the benefit of the really clean, minimal design, right?
But with PC building, we love flexibility.
Yep.
And so I appreciate that. It's also got this nice little finger holder.
And just showing you right there, I don't want to give you guys all the details, but is that a ProArt fan? It is a ProArt fan, and it's a very high performance fan. This will be a new benchmark in terms of 120 millimeter fans. And yes, I know people are saying, no, JJ, come on, this is not going to be better than a Fantex T30, right? T30. Yeah, just make sure, just watch out, stay tuned. There'll be some good stuff that you'll see.
Fighting words. All right, well, JJ, thank you for all the information. We love talking to you because there's no one else who can give us this level of depth and detail in such a short amount of time, even though I know this video has been fairly long.
It's been fairly long.
But we covered a lot.
Let us know, what was your favorite product that we had here? And if you saw their announcements, what are you most interested in Paul checking out, coming down the year? Because there's gonna be a lot of stuff that's gonna be coming out.
Lots of stuff moving towards the end of the year. That's all for this coverage, this video of ASUS at Computex 2024. A huge thank you to my sponsors for this event. ASUS, of course, as well as Antec, Fractal, and Thermaltake. Lots more videos coming at you real soon. Check out the playlist. Check out the links in the video description. Thank you once again, JJ. We'll see you guys in the next one.